you'll see the web address G.
My name is Filza Nasser, and I'm currently the chair of the WPIRG Board of Directors, and I'd just like to take a little bit of time to explain to you what WPIRG is and what we do, since I think there's a lot of misconceptions about that in the room. So starting with, yes, I know there are obviously people, like there's 28,000 undergraduate students at UW, so they're not all in this room, and the people not in this room have differing opinions on how they would vote on this, but there are like more than 300 people, more than 300 votes in this room, and people who want to vote on this issue, so that's why we'd like to vote here today, because those voices also need to be represented. It's not fair for students to be here for an hour and a half and not get to vote on the issue that they came to vote for. That's not democratic. So let's just start with what WPIRG is. WPIRG stands for the Waterloo Public Interest Research Group. It was created by UW students in 1973 as a student-run not-for-profit, and there's over 100 PIRGs across North America. WPIRG was the first in Canada. We have a long history at UW, and what we do is that we're sort of the velocity of like student social justice entrepreneurs. WPIRG provides resources, programming, support, and staff for students who want to take on projects or action groups related to social justice work on campus. And so public interest is obviously a really vague term, and how we define what public interest is at WPIRG is through our general members meetings, which are held twice a term, and anyone can come out to these meetings. If you pay the WPIRG fee, and you can vote on what projects you want to take on, what action groups you want to take on, you can vote on where you want WPIRG funding to go to. So that's like the main way. So if anyone disagrees with WPIRG action groups or projects, they're welcome to come out to these meetings. We welcome high turnout at these meetings, and you can vote on whatever projects or action groups you'd like WPIRG to take on. Some of the recent campaigns we've worked on, which you may or may not have heard of, include the Fight for Lower International Student Tuition with Y9, and the Student Housing Organizing, which we helped over 30 students win back like over $90,000 after the one Columbia building was not finished. Our action with fossil free UW is currently trying to get UW to divest from fossil fuel companies. They recently voted for the environment student faculty to divest from the Environment Student Fund. We helped an action group organize this advertised referendum, and earlier this term we hold an annual social justice comedy event, the Social Justice Night at the start of every year. And we have an annual Rainbow Reels Queer Film Festival, which has been running for more than 15 years and is one of the largest queer supporting events in the community.
Sorry, there's a point of order. I'm sorry, I don't feel that this point of order is not well taken. Continue.
Yeah, and as I'd also like to point out, that the WPIRG fee is fully refundable, and our refunds are available in the first 3 weeks of every term for students who want to come. The refund process is, we've created the most accessible process given what we have. So the reason that we don't do online refunds is because we don't have a list of members from the university, so the only way we can verify who is a member is by students coming to us and logging into Questworks. That's why refunds can only be done in person, but within that, we give refunds in cash, and the process takes less than 3 minutes for students. We also try to do refunds in the SLC.
Order, please.
Again, WPIRG doesn't decide anything on behalf of students. Everything that we work on is decided, how our funding is spent is decided at our members meetings, which are open to all UW students. Our financial information and our budgets are available online. And I know there's been a lot of comments about how much of the budget goes to staff salaries. Around 60% of that, which is actually very similar to similar nonprofits across Canada. 72% of the University of Waterloo's budget actually goes to staff salaries. The WPIRG staff salaries budget includes payroll taxes, staff training, employer training, board training. So, and staff are not just those salaries. Staff are one of the biggest resources we provide. So our volunteers, our hundreds of volunteers, rely on staff to do a lot of the work, to provide the training, to provide long-term continuity for the organization. So yeah, those are just some of the things about what WPIRG does and what we do. Now I'd like to take a little bit of time to just address the tone of this current referendum issue that's going on, as well as the tone by the group calling themselves Opt-in U Waterloo. So in the past few months,
sorry, is there a question in the back? Is there a point of order? I am ruling that discussions about WPIRG concerning a WPIRG referendum are in the spirit of the motion, and the point of order is not open.
Why the referendum right now is not a good idea, and I think that the main reason for that is the tone of the current referendum. So the group calling itself Opt into Waterloo has over the last few months continuously and repeatedly made sexist, homophobic, and
Order, please.
Against students at this campus, and whether these remarks have been made online or in person is irrelevant
There is a point of order. Yes, what is it?
That was, we as often are trying to be in our online present, in person, as calm about comments as we can. We have not attacked anyone or have said anything that's discriminatory or likewise. There are supporters, there are often supporters who may have made these comments, but you cannot blame often support, you cannot frame the often organizers in a dark light for what their supporters say. And there have been attacks by the other side as well.
Thank you, that is enough. You can address these comments on your speaking turn.
Point of order. That is a point
Yes,
of order.
what is the point of order?
I'm the president of Opt in Waterloo, and I'm really curious of what these comments are. I'm not aware of any of them. Can you give me one example?
That's not a point of order. If you wish to ask questions or refute the claims made by another member, you may do so during your speaking turn, but it's not a point of order. You may continue.
So yeah, I'd like to point out that if we're going to have a referendum on this issue, if that's what students want, that should happen. But obviously, if there's 300 people in the room voting against the referendum, that's not what students want. It's not undemocratic for students to vote against something like that in the room. And I would be really worried about the campaigning that would come from the other side of this referendum if before the referendum has even happened, such remarks have been made.
Point of information?
Online.
What is the point of information?
So please vote no against this referendum.
The speaker told us that the conditions are not currently right for a referendum. Under what conditions would you say a referendum?
That is not a point of information. That is something you can address during your speaking turn. Point of information is if you do not understand the current process that is happening during the meeting. It is not a point of information to ask a question about someone else during their speaking turn about what the subject is.
People on the live stream can't hear. If you have a point of order, you don't use the microphone.
At any time, if you're speaking, please use the microphone. Thank you. You may continue.
So that's why I'd like to urge everyone to vote no, and because this is a democratic situation, and if people vote no, they're allowed to vote no, and this is just as democratic as holding a referendum. If people want a referendum, I welcome you to hold that referendum if you can get the support for it.
Okay.
Iffy.
My name is Danielle Johnston, and I'm here on behalf of the Aboriginal Student Association. And we are here, well, the Aboriginal Student Association is a service for First Nations, Inuit, and Métis members, but also Indigenous people from all across campus, regardless of what their country of origin is. And we are essentially trying to support their education and their rediscovery of their culture. So many of us have lost our culture through various means, partially modernization of our societies, partially, moving away from home, all these things, and we are trying to reconnect with our identities. And WPIRG has been instrumental in that. They've funded our workshops, they have accessed support for us in terms of people who are able to come and talk, who are able to come and teach. And WPIRG is not our only source of funding because they've been out there constantly trying to find us other places that we can go to look. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, or the TRC. It was a huge commission that took, I don't even know how many years, but many, many years. It started in maybe like 2006. So that's basically trying to say Canada needs to reconcile with Indigenous peoples all across the country. And in order to do that, we need to show them support. We need to show them solidarity. We need to be their allies. That they're important people too. And the Aboriginal Student Association is not just for those people. Allies are welcome. We have allies here in this room, and these are very important to us. I would like to say that because currently, right now, the Aboriginal Student Association funding is so tied to WPIRG's financial support, but as well as like research support and finding people. They support us in basically every way, that any chance that WPIRG would get defunded would defund all these great programs on campus that you guys are all welcome to. For example, free soup lunches on Thursdays, where you get to learn about more Indigenous issues, about how you can become a better ally to these people in Canada. So WPIRG has been a partner with the Aboriginal Student Association for many years, and we're trying to foster that relationship. And ASA doesn't really take kindly to a threat to WPIRG, so thanks.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. My name is Visha. First, I want to appreciate WPIRG for all the services that they do. I'm sure we can all appreciate that it's a very important organization. I had 2 questions that will help me understand whether or not to vote for the referendum or not, so I'd really appreciate an answer. The first question is, how much are you guys reporting on this fiscal year as a part of your, I guess, income, or what is it? Like
Their revenues for the year?
Yes, that's the first question. The second question is, how much of that revenue would be foregone if this turned into an opt-in system? What is your projected?
So this is still part of your speaking term. If there is anyone who has knowledge of this, you can speak to that. This is still part of her speaking term, but if someone can provide an answer to that, or wishes to try.
So the first question, it's around 60% of our budget is going to salaries. Was that the question?
No, my question was, what was your reported fees collected for this fiscal year? And the second question is, if this referendum passes, it turns into an opt-in system, how much of that is foregone? How much are you losing?
Okay, so the first question, it's around $250,000 is collected every year from the undergraduate levy.
Do you know how much you're reporting for this fiscal year?
Yeah, it's like around 250. I don't have the exact number for you, but 250,000. And the second question, there is no opt-in system that exists. Like if the WPIRG fee was removed from Quest, there would be no WPIRG. There is no way for us to get the WPIRG.
So if it turned into an opt-in system, the organization would disassemble?
No, there would be no funding for WPIRG.
But
Alright, thank you.
wouldn't people be able to opt in to continue the funding for
There's
the
no
organization?
system to create an opt-in system.
So
It doesn't
All right,
exist.
hold on. Order. This is not the place for a back and forth discussion. Thank you. So the next member may speak.
Hi, my name is Basil. I'm gonna talk about an experience that I had with WPIRG. I'm not used to speaking in public, but anyways, so back in September 2014, I signed a lease with Chembry to live with them for that year. As you guys know, One Columbia was a building that did not complete on time. So basically, for 3 months, we had nowhere to live.
Sorry, there's a point of... Would you mind speaking closer to the
Sure.
Thank you.
So I signed the lease with them, and the building wasn't ready. And basically we had nowhere to live. They made us live in hotels, and every other weekend or so, they tell us that we have to leave because the hotel was full. And anyways, it's not about my bad journey or whatever. Anyway, so the only people who backed us up were WPIRG. They worked with us. They hired a lawyer for us so that we can go against Chembry and so that we can get our deposit back. They told us of every single solution that is possible and what we should do, and it worked out pretty nice, and we actually won. And yes, that's it.